Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be doing one of my videos which has both crossover BookTube and AuthorTube appeal. So whether you're a reader or a writer, this video will hopefully have something interesting you will get from it. And it's like many of my other videos based on a blog post. This is called Types of Autobiographical Characters, which I posted on the 29th of March 2021. We've probably all, been there and done that, either if we're a writer, like basing characters on ourselves, sometimes not even like deliberately or like to show off, or just for whatever reason people make autobiographical characters. Maybe it's just what they're used to writing, or just not doing it on purpose. Or you've read a book and it's like you're feeling like, oh, maybe this is really based on the author, because it just doesn't feel like a fictional story. It feels more like an autobiography with a few things changed. It's like it was a novel in prose. I read this maybe like 15-ish years ago or something like that. It's set in the 1960s, called Purple Days, and I love contemporary historical fiction and novels and prose. I've really much more gotten into over the last 20 years or so. So I was delighted to find this, and I quickly realized this book isn't so good. It's kind of like boring, and I believe I gave it like 3 stars on Amazon, and I pointed out it just didn't feel like a natural story. And someone commented on my review, not the author, like at least some authors have, the wherewithal to not comment on negative reviews, but this person said, oh, this author is a friend of mine and she was writing about herself and our friends in the 60s, and that just made me hate the book even more. And it made me feel, oh, no wonder it didn't feel like a natural story. She was just like writing about her own life and her friends and teachers and parents and her friends' parents' lives in the 60s, and maybe changing a few things, but this was not an actual like narrative, like fictional story. That's just, I hate when authors do that. Just like make base a little bit. I'm obviously getting ahead of myself, haven't even gotten to the scripted post yet, but just like either like base it a little bit on yourself, or just make an entirely fictional story. But don't just, oh, I'm just going to write about my friends. That's a natural story, and no one will know as long as I change up the names and maybe a few details. But anyway, rant over. So let's talk about the different kinds of autobiographical characters one can create. There is a whole spectrum between ciphers and wish fulfillment Mary Sue's or Gary Stu's. Number 1, the thinly fictionalized version of yourself. Seriously, why even bother presenting your real-life story as if it were a novel, as I was ranting about the novel in verse Purple Days? Just write a memoir or publish your old journals and be done with it. Bully for you that you had an idyllic childhood with no major problems. You might write these stories beautifully, but even a deliberately episodic, slower-paced, character-driven book or series where coming of age is the plot needs to be hung on some kind of trajectory and story arc. Give us tension and stakes, not just a bunch of random episodes or silly, minor dramas that quickly resolve. If you are drawing solely from your own life, or only slightly tweaking it, odds are you won't have the kinds of plot and characters that drive along a good yarn. A lot of these autobiographical or thinly fictionalized stories also are only interesting if you know the people involved. Like, let's say you're charmed by stories of your grandparents or great-grandparents or whoever, like, playing paper dolls and like eating lunch in like an old like gypsy wagon or whatever, like circus wagon, but you could care less when anyone else does it. At least use it to further character development or elevate it beyond a random episode. And I do realize, people write the way is like common in their era and they copy that. That was a big problem of mine when I started getting back into seriously writing towards publication again in like the year 2010, 2011. Like, I had read so many older books throughout my life and didn't really, obviously it's not like I never read any contemporary novels, far from it, but it was just I was much more familiar with much older books from, let's say, like the 1950s, like much, and prior to that, to like 180, like 150 whatever years ago. And I genuinely had no idea like the literary conventions had moved on from then. So you can't just have a story that's just a bunch of cute, like fun, interesting, funny, whatever episodes and characters' lives. You actually have to have some kind of structure and an arc. Like, and I still do far prefer to both read and write about stories that are deliberately slower paced, more episodic, and character driven, not like, bang, 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 let's race from point A to Z with a fast pace, plot that's all action, jumping right into the middle of things without, any time to slowly savor the journey through life and get to know the characters over maybe like 700, 800, 900 pages instead of all of 288 pages. But even if you are like deliberately doing a slower paced book that's more about the journey through life and like coming of age throughout a series, you still need to have like storylines throughout the book, not just, oh, this is a cute episode and then that's the end of the chapter and that's the last we hear of that, and that doesn't really do anything to advance an overall storyline or character development. And again, as I realized, that was much more common, like let's say 1950 or so and prior, but just in these days you need a lot more to have a story going. And indeed, when I have revisited books I loved as a child and preteen as an adult, or even like books that I missed the boat on reading when I was that age that are very old, it frequently feels like, what was all the fuss about? Why did I love this book so much? Or like, why are so many people raving about this book they loved when they were like growing up or in a different generation? Because it's just a series of like loosely connected episodes, and many times again that is based on the author's own life. So just like, my point is add a little bit more like actual structure and have like a story trajectory and arc, and have the like episodes like advancing towards something as part of a storyline, not just like episodes in and of themselves because they're like, fun and cool or just a little adventure to fill up another chapter. Number 2, the wish fulfillment, Mary Sue or Gary Stu. This is the kind of character who gets all the job promotions, successful art shows, military advancements, high grades, spicy sex life, etc., which you never had but always wished for. No one wants to read about a perfect character with a charmed life, and this, I was thinking a little bit about the character of Pug Henry and Herman Wouk's The Winds of War and War and Remembrance. Like Mr. Wouk himself was in the military, and a lot of people, I haven't yet finished reading the entire book. It's not like I DNF'd it on purpose. It was just like the first 2 times I tried to read it, it was a mass market paperback, which I got for only $1 at Mystery Train Record. And when a book is over 1,000 pages long, sorry, like mass market paperback size, which I think is like 4x8 trim, and I still do have a planned future video coming up for both readers and writers about like trim size and book formatting and stuff. That's just not really a good size for a really long book, because you're inevitably going to break the spine at some point, and the like print is tiny in the small pages. You should have a much more comfortable trim size of at least 6x9, and I would say even 7x10 sometimes for really, really long books, because it's just like much more comfortable to look at and hold in your hand, and you will not risk breaking the spine most probably. But anyway, many people who have read on both of those entire books have suspected Mr. Wouk was just basing Pug Henry on himself, like, oh, this guy is going to get all these military promotions I didn't get, and like explain like why he didn't get them in real life, but why his alter ego is getting them. But anyways, it's like, I hate reading about these perfect characters with charmed lives. Like, what's the serious like compelling story in that one? Number 3, the bully pulpit for your frustrated, failed ambitions. And that does tie a little bit into number 2 again, the character getting everything you didn't get. It is so obvious when a writer uses an autobiographical character, or one with a similar life trajectory, as a way to constantly whine about why she or he didn't get those military promotions, salary raises, successful art or music career, scholarship, dream job, etc., or to blame it on everyone and everything but oneself. Maybe it really is unfair how you lost or were never offered those opportunities, like spiteful coworkers, a boss who inexplicably hated you from the jump, or the kids from well-connected families being ushered into your school's college prep track, despite not having very good grades. And I was thinking about my own life with the thing about like the kids with like the PTA mothers and fathers that just went right into the like advanced and talented track in upper elementary school, and they were taking like advanced high school level courses by 8th grade, while I was just like dropped in without a lifeboat in my sophomore year of high school, instead of being like gradually transitioned in, even though like I did have the good grades and intelligence to qualify. But obviously that's a whole like off-topic story for another post. Yeah, I am still a little bit bitter about this all these years, but I've mostly gotten over it. So you can explore that with a story based on your own life. But dwelling on it and ranting so often makes you look unhealthily stuck in the past. Number 4, a character based strongly on yourself, but with some significant differences. I've spoken many times about how Emmeline Troy is my doppelganger. She is one of the sisters in Little Ragdoll, but she is not the main sister. We both had hyperlexia at age 3. The first book we ever read was the adult, uncensored Grimm's Fairy Tales. We adore Hermann Hesse. We're very influenced by Eastern philosophies and religions. We didn't have our first relationship till age 28. Yes, believe it or not, I am that much of a dinosaur. Our beaux were both walking DSMs from emotionally incestuous immigrant families, maintaining a hurtful, inappropriate relationship, an inappropriate friendship with a deranged ex, and with a bizarre aversion to kissing. Thank God I finally pulled the plug on that dead-end dysfunctional relationship. We both had menarche a month before our 12th birthdays, and so much more. However, I only wish I had gone to Vassar. I didn't have a double major in history and German studies. I didn't switch to a private school for disadvantaged young women on full scholarship late in my sophomore year of high school. I was cheated out of the chance to study Latin my last 2 years of high school. I don't have 8 siblings. My walking DSM ex is Belarusian, not Hungarian. I didn't grow up in tenements or in New York City, and I have never smoked pot. And actually, I thought it was a difference at the time, but it turned out to be another similarity when I was writing Little Ragdoll and doing all the edits. George is Emmeline's favorite Beatle, but at the time I only believed he was still my second favorite Beatle, but my favorite solo Beatle. And surprise, I came to realize, I guess a couple of years after that, he had become my favorite Beatle and had been for quite some time, and definitely was my favorite Beatle while I was writing, and I just wasn't ready to emotionally admit, John had no longer become my favorite Beatle, and it was really, really George in my heart all along. And I do have a number of blog posts about my love for George, and I did recently do a community post putting up my old video I did on the 20th, the 20th anniversary of George's passing in November 29th, 2001, so you can check that. November 29th, 2001 is when he passed, but I obviously did the video on the 29th of November 2021. So anyway, number 5, a character based somewhat on yourself, but fully her or his own person. So, for example, this character might have a different religion, ethnic background, political party, or hometown than you, but have a similar family background, personal values, and hobbies. There are also a number of incidents drawn from or based on your own life, but not to the point of a strongly autobiographical story. Number 6, a character who lets you vicariously explore the path not taken. And I really like the thing. I'm doing this a lot with my character Cinnamon. Many things about her life are, based on my own life, but it's not nearly completely very, very doppelgangery like with Emmeline Troy. Cinnamon is entirely her own person, even though we do have some similarities. And this is true for many other characters I've created. They have aspects of themselves that are drawn from my own life or interests or personalities or politics, religion, or whatever, but they are completely their own character. So that troll who gave me that nasty novella length rant, 1-star review without any paragraph breaks on Goodreads, she was claiming Arcadia, one of the only major completely fictional characters in my alternative history, and Alexei lived as a self-insert. She just kept insisting this over and over again. Oh, I knew she was a self-insert. That's sure news to me. If anything, she's more, in hindsight looking back, she seems kind of more subconsciously based on a Princess Diana type of character. She has a few things that were drawn from my own life, but Arcadia is definitely not a self-insert. Seriously, I wrote the book. I should know this. This deranged troll only had the briefest and most superficial interaction with me on Instagram, and then she used that brief interaction to claim all this weird stuff about my motivations and personal beliefs. Seriously, I really think something's cuckoo in her head. That just was not a normal way anyone writes a book review. So anyway, getting back to number 6, the character who lets you vicariously explore the path not taken. Maybe you have always regretted a certain choice and wished you had made a different one, or always wondered how your life might have turned out had another opportunity been available. So, for example, taking school more seriously and qualifying for a full scholarship to a prestigious college, accepting a job offer in another country or state, marrying and having kids earlier or later, getting financial aid for a private school with an excellent music program, studying abroad, not being so provincial, studying architecture instead of business, and you can probably think of many other things. So let me know down in the comments below if you are either a writer or a reader, like what are your favorite and least favorite kinds of autobiographical characters to read and write about. Can you think of any examples that really pop out from books you have read over the years with the various types of autobiographical characters which I talked about, and just like what you think about it in general? I really enjoy having conversations with you guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, of course, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys again in my next video. Thanks again for watching. Bye.